Many of you asked me to start going back to the news, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm currently working on my office, which is actually my studio, which is all noise canceled and beautiful inside, but it's pretty dark. So I have to get lighting adjusted so I could actually start doing videos the way I used to. Look for that in the future, but until that happens, this is what you get. You get the talking no head. So in the past couple of weeks, CIG has been introducing us to a few of the features that are coming out in the next couple of patches. The first one is docking. Now, before we get into how docking is going to work, I want to talk about some of the hurdles that have existed since the dawn of time with Star Citizen. The largest hurdle to docking has been the physics grids that are contained within each ship. Some may only have one, some have multiple. And when you dock a Merlin into the back of the constellation, you're connecting two physics grids. It's a complicated and long-winded explanation to explain physics grids. Let's just say if we were looking for ultra-realism in physics and physics grids within a video game, it would take processors, multiple processors, just to be able to handle all the physics calculations going on. That's always been a major hurdle. It seems that they've gotten past that at this point. In the past, we heard about the complications of having the Hull C come into the game. And one of those was when they would expand the ship, and then it would go from one physics grid to multiple, the ship would shake itself apart. So that also would happen when they docked the Merlin. This was a huge setback in ships like the Hull series of ships because they had multiple physics grids on one ship. In some situations, they may have three. So CIG had to overcome this hurdle of multiple physics grids being connected to one another. And it took them a while to do that. And it took them a while to do it correctly. Once they had it done, docking was just simply pointing your ship at the rear end of the constellation and flying towards it and holding down the N key for an auto dock. There are many different pieces that are going to help you do this manually, though. They built a UI, a user interface, that actually shows how you line up with the ship. I think this is very good, and it reminds me a little bit of Kerbal Space Program. And these things are amazing. So docking the Merlin is very simple and very quick, doing it manually and automatically. But there's more to docking than just taking a ship and putting it in the rear end of a constellation. We have huge ships in the game, like the 890 Jump, the Hammerhead, the Carrack, and these ships have docking collars, docking ports. And our stations are tremendously large, and right now they have hangars that you could land in some of them. But in most situations, a ship as large as an 890 Jump or larger needs to dock alongside of a station. For this, CIG has actually implemented different views. So a camera is actually set up in the docking collar of your ship. So as you're moving towards this docking port on a station, you can actually see right through the docking collar. It's amazing, it's wonderful, and this is what I've been asking for the whole time. I'm hoping with all these, I want to say these steps forward with docking, that we're actually going to get a better landing interface like we had in the beginning of time in Star Citizen. But all in all, I think docking is going to be a great feature. I'm still up in the air as to whether the Merlin is actually going to be any use whatsoever. Right now, I just think it's kind of a wow feature. We just have to see how effective undocking a Merlin, going into battle, fighting, and then docking it in the end will be. But what I'm most excited for is those huge ships like my Hammerhead, my Polaris in the future, getting an opportunity to dock at almost every space station and use these wonderful new docking ports. And one of the coolest things in them is this huge lobby that they have inside that is an airlock, and it just makes everything look wonderful. This next piece is probably the most exciting for me because having a star system complete is something that I've been waiting for forever. And the gas giant technology is what has been holding us back, with Crusader becoming an actual landing zone. Now, there's been many things up in the air, and I say that as a pun, believe it or not, since the beginning of Star Citizen. What is this Orison going to look like? And this week we got our first sneak peek into it, and it is looking beautiful. So you have the horrible atmosphere and quite beautiful certain areas of Hurston. You have the big cityscapes, well, the huge cityscape because it's a planet that's a city of ArcCorp. And then you have the terraforming nightmare, but beautiful winter wonderland that is Microtech. And here we get one of the most anticipated landing zones in the Stanton system, which is Orison. Orison, like Bespin, is high above the clouds. I still want to challenge everybody on how they keep that done. But even today, people are talking about doing this on Venus. Not being able to settle the landscape of Venus because it's so hot. They're talking about giant floating stations that would be high in the atmosphere where it's cooler and oxygen may exist. So they could build these wonderful colonies over Venus. They would look nothing like this, though. If you're looking here at Orison, it takes on such a beautiful look, kind of like one of the capitals here on Earth. Maybe a little bit of Washington, D.C., maybe a little bit of Sacramento. I don't know. The cherry blossoms are just gorgeous. Wind blowing the leaves, shopping malls with restaurants high above on the top of a roof. I think this is going to be one of those places that you come and just relax and kick back and maybe end your long, hard day of patrolling for bounties in the Crusader system. Now, I call each one of the planetary systems their own system, even though they're part of Stanton, which is the star, because each one of them have been getting many different places to land. And although Orison looks amazing, I'm still wondering what's going to happen to Port Olisar. I did have an opportunity to talk to Chris directly, and I asked him point blank, is Port Olisar going to be destroyed? He goes, we're not going to destroy Port Olisar. And I got kind of disappointed. But what he didn't say is that they weren't going to replace it with a new Port Olisar, so who knows? And with that, all I have to say is Star Citizen keeps on looking brighter and brighter each day. We have new ships, new landing zones, a new star system. We even have new game mechanics, all coming in the next 3 to 4 patches. Very exciting because I feel like we're starting to get away from the tool construction, which has kept Star Citizen from coming out quicker for so long. And we're starting to get past some of the technology construction. So as we see elements of the game like iCache, physicalized inventory, and server meshing added over the next year, we should start to see places like Orison, places like Pyro and Nyx, and maybe, just maybe, we get Terra or Goss or some other beautiful planet that shares the beauty with this wonderful landing zone, Orison. Who knows? The future is in flux right now because we don't know what CIG is working on outside of what's directly in front of us, and we know that's Pyro and Nyx. I can't wait to see the other star systems fleshed out after that. In this last piece, I want to talk about a couple of things that have been going on inside the game over the past couple of weeks. Now, first off, we had the Xenothreat event, and that went very well, but it went a little bit too quick for some people's taste. Now, the fact that CIG is doing these live events is a great thing. It's going to add so much to the game, but they can't be expected to have these events lasting as an event that goes on and on and on. And that's because of, when you think about it, it's the thought process that Chris has about the game, that you truly are in this dynamic, living, breathing universe. Events happen, and at some point in the future, you'll be recognized for taking part in different events and for what you achieved during those events, meaning that you might be in a bar in some faraway distant planet and someone says, "Hey, aren't you such and such that took place in this event and scored this many kills?" Whatever it might be. So events are going to be very important, but they're not going to be static. It's not going to be like someone that can join the game 2 years from now is going to be able to take part in that same event. Now, the Xenothreat event may not have ended after all. It might just be these phases are done. And there's going to continue to be attacks across Stanton over the next few patches. Or maybe, possibly, maybe, over the course of each month, CIG will increase the occurrences of these incursions by the Xenothreat into Stanton. I don't know which one it's going to be, and I know they've been talking much about it. But the first and most important part of this Xenothreat event was it was a test to see how it was going to work in-game. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed it. I made a lot of UEC off of it. I went out there with my friends and my squadron mates and just had a rip-roaring time. And I'm very happy that it came to pass because I really wanted to look at other parts of the game and spend time on trying to figure out how to make money. I've already done a video speaking about how to do that by doing claim jumper missions. And later this week, I'll do a video talking about bounty hunter missions and illegal monitoring operation missions, which have been netting me some cash too. But before I do that, I want to end this video on speaking about an event that happens every so often, and that's a free fly week. Sometimes it's a weekend, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's longer. Right now we're in the middle of this one. And in the past, I've actually been very critical of these because there's some groups that go out and make it a living nightmare for anyone new coming into the game. But my experience hasn't been that this time. I usually have a lot of issues inside of these free fly weeks, and I haven't experienced it myself. But when looking through Spectrum, when hearing from other people, it seems that there are some groups that are actively seeking out and disrupting the gameplay of players that are just coming in for the first time. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you in the comments to tell me if you see this as being widespread. Because if it is, CIG really needs to do something about it. But if it's not, and it's just people that are just playing the game as pirates, essentially, that's just... Right now, we're putting the cart before the horse. We have some things that people are allowed to do before the criminal system is really fleshed out, before the advocacy is introduced into the game, before there are repercussions from dying, from becoming caught. There's just so much that's down the road that would stop something like this from happening that's just not in the game. So are these people truly in the abundance that I'm being told, or are these people just few that are only affecting a few? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. When reading through the threads on Spectrum, it seems like it's widespread. And I have to say that on one server, on one day, for one few moments in time, there was somebody there that was griefing people. But it was short-lived. He was taken out by 2 other players, and that seemed to be it, until he started throwing around the P word and the C word and all sorts of things, calling the people that killed him names, and all they did was ignore him, and finally he shut up. So I really want your point of view. Is the Free Fly Wink really a fiasco, or is it what I'm experiencing, which is it's a few random issues that have happened, but nothing widespread? Well, that's what I have for this week. I really don't want to get too deep into trashing CIG for having free fly weeks because I think they're wonderful in getting us new players. But what I do want to know is what your thoughts are. So please add your comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Okay, I understand that you put those out sometimes. Just give me pointers in the comments section on what you want in the future. And if you do subscribe, please be sure to click that bell-shaped icon so you get notified of all my future videos. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I will talk to you soon.